Imagine this. You are standing in the middle of a rooftop party. The city lights are glittering below you. Dozens of people are laughing, clinking glasses, celebrating. The night air is warm, the music is soft, and everything looks perfect from the outside. But inside your chest, something feels very wrong. You can't quite name it yet. You just know something is off. And then, without any warning, the woman you have loved for 14 years, the woman you built a home with, the woman you trusted with everything you had, picks up a microphone, turns to face you in front of 50 people, and delivers an ultimatum. Not in private, not in your kitchen, not in a therapist's office. Right there, in public, under the open Texas sky, with every single pair of eyes in the room locked on your face. She asks you no, she demands to know whether you are in or out of your own marriage. Right now, right here in front of your colleagues, your boss, your peers. She gives you no room to breathe, no space to think, no dignity to hold on to. She holds the microphone like a weapon and waits for you to crumble. She expects tears. She expects begging. She expects you to fall to your knees and prove to her and to everyone watching that you are weak, that you need her, that without her you are nothing. But here is what she did not expect. Here is the part that changed everything. I didn't say a single word. I set down my glass, I looked at her one last time, and then I turned around and walked away. No argument, no public breakdown, no desperate plea, just silence and footsteps heading for the exit. That one moment of silence turned out to be the most powerful thing I ever did in my life. And what followed over the next several months, the truths that came out, the battles I fought, the man I became on the other side of all of it, that is the story I am about to tell you. My name is Ryan Chambers. I am 41 years old. I work as a senior developer at a technology company based in Austin, Texas. I am not a dramatic person by nature. I do not look for conflict. I go to work, I do my job well, I come home, I read bedtime stories to my daughter, and I try to be a decent husband and a present father. That is the kind of man I am. Or at least, that is the kind of man I was trying to be. My wife, Lauren, is 36 years old. She works as a marketing manager at the same company where I work. We have been married for 14 years. We have a 6-year-old daughter named Olivia, who is, without question, the greatest thing that has ever happened to me. From the outside, our life looked completely solid. 2 careers, a nice home, a healthy child, stability. On paper, we were doing everything right. But paper does not tell the full story. It never does. If you are watching this for the first time, welcome. We are so glad you are here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story like this one. Our community grows every single day, and the best stories are always still ahead. The night that everything came apart was supposed to be a celebration. Our company had just launched a brand new platform, and it had gone beautifully. Lauren's marketing team had led a powerful campaign that drew attention from across the industry. Everyone was proud. Everyone was riding high. And to mark the occasion, our VP of Technology, a man named Jordan Palmer, organized a rooftop party in the heart of downtown Austin. It was a real event. Catered food, an open bar, soft lighting. The whole skyline spread out below us like a postcard. Lauren had insisted I come. She told me it would be good for my career, good for visibility, good for us. I was not particularly excited about it. I have never been comfortable at those big corporate social events, the kind where everyone is performing a version of themselves and conversation stays safely at the surface. But Lauren wanted me there, and I wanted to support her. So I put on a dress shirt and a blazer, and I went. The rooftop was packed when we arrived. Loud conversations, laughter, the kind of energy you feel when a whole team is genuinely proud of what they built together. Lauren looked beautiful that night. She was wearing a dress I had never seen before, elegant, fitted, clearly expensive. She looked confident in a way that was slightly different from the Lauren I knew at home. But I told myself that was a good thing. That was her in her element. Within a few minutes of arriving, she disappeared into the crowd. I watched her move through the room like she belonged there completely. I found a spot near the bar and nursed a cold beer, trying to look like I was enjoying myself. This is not a world I move through naturally. I am more comfortable with code and quiet than with cocktail chatter and networking. But I stayed. I tried. I kept telling myself the evening would be over soon. About an hour into the party, I spotted Lauren across the rooftop. She was standing with Jordan Palmer. Now, Jordan was the kind of man who commanded a room, tall, charming, always immaculately dressed. He had a way of making every conversation feel important, every person he spoke to feel like the only one in the room. Lauren was laughing, genuinely laughing, and Jordan's hand was resting on the small of her back. It was not a business handshake. It was not a brief, congratulatory pat. It was familiar. It was comfortable. It was intimate in a way that made something cold move through my chest. I told myself I was reading too much into it. I told myself they were colleagues who had just finished a major project together and that I was being insecure. I pushed the feeling down the way you do when you are not yet ready to admit what you are actually seeing. Then the speeches began. Jordan took the microphone first. He talked about the company's vision, about innovation, about the power of a team that believed in each other. He was polished and convincing, the way he always was. Then he handed the microphone to Lauren. She stepped up to the small, elevated platform they had set up near the edge of the rooftop, and she thanked her team. She talked about the campaign, the long hours, the creativity they had poured into the project. And then, mid-speech, her eyes found mine across the crowd. Something crossed her face in that moment, something I cannot fully describe. It was cold. It was decided, like she had already made up her mind about something I had not even been told yet. "I want to thank the people who believed in me," she said, her voice steady and clear through the microphone, "when others did not." She paused. "Some people in life are perfectly happy staying in the same place forever, playing it safe, never taking risks, never growing, but I am not one of those people anymore." The crowd applauded. People smiled and nodded. They had no idea those words were aimed at someone specific. They had no idea that someone was me. Lauren stepped down from the platform. The crowd parted as she walked directly toward me. My heart was hammering. I could feel people watching. Jordan stood near the platform with his arms folded, watching too, with the kind of calm expression that belongs to someone who already knows how the scene is going to play out. "Ryan," her voice came through the microphone, amplified, clean, carrying across the entire rooftop. "I think we need to talk about us, about what you want, about what I want. I am tired of waiting for you to figure things out." The rooftop went quiet. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Someone's phone made a notification sound. A glass clinked somewhere nearby. Every single person on that rooftop turned to look at me. "So here is your choice," Lauren continued. Her voice was steady. There was no trembling, no hesitation. She had rehearsed this. "Right here, right now, are you in or are you out? Do you want this marriage or should we both just move on?" Silence, complete, devastating silence. She had gone too far, way too far. This was not a conversation. This was a performance. This was a trap designed to humiliate me in front of everyone we worked with, everyone who mattered professionally, everyone whose opinion affected our daily lives. She wanted me to break down publicly. She wanted tears or anger or desperate words. She wanted a scene that would make me look like the unstable one, the emotional one, the one who could not handle himself. I stood there and looked at this woman I had loved for 14 years. And in that moment, I realized I did not recognize her at all. The Lauren I had married would never have done this. Whoever this person was, she was someone else entirely. I said absolutely nothing. I set my beer down on the nearest table. Slowly, calmly, I straightened up. And then I turned and walked toward the exit, not fast, not dramatically, I just walked away. Behind me, I heard gasps. I heard murmurs rippling through the crowd. Someone called my name. I did not look back. I walked to the elevator, pressed the button, rode it down to the ground floor, stepped out into the warm Austin night, and kept walking. My phone started buzzing in my pocket almost immediately. I did not answer it. I did not look at it. I just kept walking, breathing the night air, putting distance between myself and that rooftop. That was the moment my marriage ended. Not in a therapist's office. Not over a quiet conversation at the kitchen table. It ended with silence in front of 50 witnesses under the stars of a Texas night sky. And it was the silence that mattered most. I woke up the next morning in the guest room of my brother Kevin's house. I was still wearing the same dress shirt and slacks from the night before. My phone was on the floor beside the bed, face down, battery at 3%. I turned it over and looked at the screen. 47 missed calls, 62 text messages. I set it back down without reading a single one. Kevin was already in the kitchen making coffee when I stumbled out of the guest room around 7 in the morning. He took one long look at me, rumpled clothes, hollow eyes, the particular exhaustion that comes not from physical tiredness, but from having your world turned upside down, and he poured 2 cups of coffee without saying a word. That is the thing about brothers, the good ones. They know the difference between silence that is abandonment and silence that is support. Kevin handed me the mug and sat down across from me, and he just waited. "You want to tell me what happened?" he finally asked, after I had made my way through half the cup. So I told him all of it. The party, the speeches, the hand on her back, the microphone, the ultimatum, the walk away. I laid it all out, piece by piece, and Kevin listened without interrupting once. That meant more to me than almost anything else in those first raw hours. When I finished, Kevin leaned back in his chair and shook his head slowly. "She has lost her mind," he said. "Kevin is 43 and he went through his own divorce 3 years ago. He knows what betrayal looks like up close. He understands the particular kind of pain that comes when someone you trusted completely does something you never saw coming. You did the right thing, man," he said. "Walking away the way you did, that took more strength than staying and fighting back ever would have." My phone buzzed on the table. Lauren's name lit up the screen. I watched it ring and let it go to voicemail. "You going to talk to her eventually?" Kevin asked. "Eventually," I said, "but not today." The messages came in waves after that. The first ones from Lauren were short and sharp, cold sentences like weapons. "You just left." Then they got longer, more explanatory, more justifying. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone." By mid-morning, she shifted tactics entirely. "We need to talk about Olivia. She is asking where you are." That one stopped me. My daughter, 6 years old, probably sitting at home with wide eyes and a stomach full of confusion, wondering why Daddy had not come home last night. That hit me somewhere deep, in the place where all the real pain lives. I typed back carefully, "Tell Olivia I love her and I will see her very soon. You and I will talk when I am ready." Lauren's response came back within seconds. "When you are ready, typical, always about what you want." I set the phone down before I wrote something I could not take back. That took real discipline. But I had already learned one thing from the night before: sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Have you ever been in a situation where someone tried to control you, humiliate you, or force you into a corner? If something like this has happened to you, share your story in the comments below. You are not alone, and your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Around noon, a message arrived from someone I was not expecting to hear from at all. Taylor Reed, a junior developer on my team, 28 years old, sharp and quiet, someone I had worked alongside for 2 years in a strictly professional way. Her message was brief. "Hey Ryan, I do not know if this crosses a line, but I think you should know something. Can we meet for coffee?" I stared at that message for a full 5 minutes. Why would Taylor reach out the morning after the rooftop incident? What could she possibly know? My stomach tightened with a feeling I recognized, the feeling of a truth you are not yet ready to look at directly. Kevin glanced over my shoulder and read the message. "Meet her," he said, as simply as if he were suggesting a lunch spot. "If she is reaching out the day after all of that, she knows something worth knowing." He was right, I texted back. "Coffee sounds good. When and where?" We agreed on a small place near the office at 3 in the afternoon. I showered and changed into spare clothes Kevin found for me, and I tried to prepare myself mentally for whatever was coming. Because I was beginning to understand something important. Last night was not the beginning of the end. It was just the first moment I had been forced to open my eyes. The ending had been building for a long time. I had been too focused on doing my part, on being a responsible husband and a present father, to see the whole picture clearly. Taylor was about to show me what I had been missing. Taylor was already in the coffee shop when I arrived at 3 o'clock. She had chosen a corner booth, away from the door, away from the windows. She was nursing a latte, and she looked like someone who had been rehearsing a difficult conversation all morning. She straightened when I walked in, and I could see the conflict written all over her face, the discomfort of having information she did not ask for, did not want, but felt she could not keep to herself any longer. I sat down and did not waste time on small talk. "What do you need to tell me?" I asked directly. She took a slow breath. She met my eyes. "I have known about Lauren and Jordan for 4 months," she said. "I should have told you sooner. I did not know how, and I kept telling myself it was not my place." She paused. "But after last night, I could not stay quiet anymore." The words hit like a physical blow. Even though some quiet part of me had already known, or at least suspected, hearing it said out loud made it completely real in a way it had not been before. 4 months. At minimum, probably longer. Taylor pulled out her phone and slid it carefully across the table toward me. "I took screenshots," she said quietly. "I am sorry, Ryan, I know this is awful, but you deserve to know the truth." I picked up her phone with steady hands, though my heart was pounding. The screenshots showed text messages between Lauren and Jordan. They started flirtatiously, small things, playful things, and then grew into something unmistakably explicit. There were messages about meeting at hotels. There were messages discussing timelines, planning, waiting. One phrase jumped out at me and planted itself in my memory like a cold stone. Just a few more months and he will figure it out on his own. Another, we will finally be able to stop hiding. There were expense reports too, business trips on paper that aligned perfectly with hotel bookings made under false names. My hands were trembling slightly by the time I scrolled to the end. Taylor gently took her phone back. "There is more," she said. "Financial things." She folded her hands on the table. "Jordan has been approving expense reimbursements for Lauren that have no legitimate business basis. We are talking thousands of dollars over the past 6 months. Plastic surgery consultations, jewelry, spa treatments, all coded in the system as client entertainment or marketing expenses." The words arranged themselves slowly in my brain. "She had work done?" The question came out hollow. Taylor nodded. "Breast augmentation in March, Botox injections every 6 weeks. She told people at the office it was for her confidence, for her career." Her voice softened with something that was not quite pity but was close to it. "I am so sorry. I know this is a lot to take in." It was far more than a lot. It was the full picture, finally. Lauren had not just had an affair. She had used company money that was supposed to represent legitimate professional work, to physically remake herself for another man. While I was at my desk working late nights to support our family, she was scheduling consultations and booking hotel rooms and building a second life I knew absolutely nothing about. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked. "Why last night specifically?" Taylor looked at me steadily. "Because after last night, I understood what she was doing. That ultimatum was not about giving you a real choice, Ryan. It was about making you look weak in front of everyone important. It was about making you the problem. If you fell apart publicly, she could frame the end of the marriage as your failure, your inability to handle yourself, your emotional immaturity. And then she would have a clean narrative. Jordan has been positioning her for a VP of marketing role. They needed you out of the picture, and they needed it to look like your fault." I sat back in the booth. The pieces were clicking into place one by one, and the picture they formed was something I had not let myself imagine. "Does HR know any of this?" I asked. "Not yet," Taylor said, "but they will." She reached into her bag and placed a small flash drive on the table between us. "Everything is on here: text messages, expense reports, hotel receipts, dates, names, amounts, all of it organized clearly." She pushed it toward me. "What you do with it is your decision." I picked up the flash drive and closed my fingers around it. "Thank you, Taylor," I said. "Seriously, this took courage." I stood to leave and she spoke one more time. "One more thing." Her voice was careful. "Jordan Palmer is married, has been for 6 years. His wife lives in Dallas with their 2 children. He keeps it completely quiet at the office because he likes to present as a bachelor. He was playing both sides the entire time." That stopped me completely. "Lauren knows." "I do not think so," Taylor said. "He has been lying to both of you. Lauren had no idea." I walked out of that coffee shop and into the warm afternoon sunlight with a flash drive in my pocket and a new understanding of everything. Lauren had tried to build a story where I was the anchor dragging her down, where I was the obstacle between her and the life she deserved. But the truth was something very different. I was not the villain. I was just the man who had finally, completely opened his eyes. The hardest part of everything that followed, harder than the betrayal itself, harder than the humiliation on the rooftop, harder than any legal paperwork or difficult conversation, was explaining things to my 6-year-old daughter. I picked Olivia up from school on the Friday 3 days after the rooftop incident. Lauren had been sending increasingly hostile messages throughout the week, but when it came to our daughter, something in both of us managed to hold the anger back just enough to keep things functional. Barely, but enough. Olivia came running out of school with her princess backpack bouncing, and her smile so wide it physically ached to look at. She threw her arms around me in the parking lot the way only a young child can, with her entire body, her entire heart, holding nothing back. "Daddy, where have you been?" "I have been staying at Uncle Kevin's for a few days, sweetheart, but I am here now." "Why aren't you staying at home?" I pulled out of the school parking lot and chose every single word with extreme care. "Mommy and Daddy are having some grown-up problems right now, sweetheart. But that does not change how much I love you, not even a tiny bit. You know that, right?" She was quiet for a moment, in that way children get when they are turning something over in their minds. Then she asked, in the perfectly direct and guileless way that only a 6-year-old can manage, Are you getting divorced, like Emma's parents? Emma was her best friend from kindergarten. The divorce had been contentious, and Olivia had watched it from the outside with all the quiet, wondering attention children bring to things they do not yet fully understand. I do not know yet, honey, I said honestly. Maybe, but whatever happens, you will always have both of us. We both love you more than anything in this world. That part will never, ever change. She was quiet again. Then, is it because of Mr. Jordan? My hands tightened on the steering wheel. What do you mean, sweetheart? I heard Mommy on the phone. She said your name and Mr. Jordan's name. She sounded mad. I pulled the car into an empty parking lot and turned around to face her properly. Olivia, I need you to. Listen to me very carefully. None of this is your fault. Do you understand me? Not even a little bit. Sometimes adults make mistakes. Sometimes things between grown-ups change. But you did not do anything wrong, not one single thing. She nodded slowly, watching my face with those big, trusting eyes, looking for reassurance and finding it. We spent the rest of that afternoon at the park. I pushed her on the swings until my arms ached. I helped her across the monkey bars and spotted her from below. I bought her ice cream even though dinner was less than an hour away. I said yes to every request that afternoon because none of those small things, the extra push, the scoop of ice cream, the extra 15 minutes before going home, none of that mattered compared to making sure she felt safe and loved and held by her father. When I dropped her back at the house that evening, Lauren was standing in the doorway with her arms folded and something tight in her expression. I walked Olivia to the door, kissed her forehead, said I would see her very soon, and waited until she ran inside. We need to talk, Lauren said. Yes, we do, I said, keeping my voice completely even. But not here and not now. I have a lawyer. You should get yourself one too. We will handle this properly. A lawyer, Ryan? Don't you think that is a bit? You gave me an ultimatum in front of 50 colleagues, Lauren. You have been using company money to fund a personal life with Jordan Palmer. So yes, I got a lawyer. I held her gaze steadily. Make the call. Her face went pale. How did you? It does not matter how, I said. What matters is you made your choice on that rooftop, and now I am making mine. I turned and walked back to my car. In the rearview mirror, I could see her standing on the doorstep, completely still. For the first time since that terrible night, I felt like I had my footing again. Like I was choosing my direction, not just reacting to someone else's chaos. If you are finding this story powerful, hit the like button right now. It helps more people find stories like this one. And share it with a friend who might need to hear it today. Monday morning, I sat across the desk from Patricia Vance, one of the most respected divorce attorneys in Austin. Kevin's ex-wife had recommended her, and the recommendation had been sincere. Patricia was in her mid-50s, with a precise and sharp way of looking at things that made. You feel like nothing got past her. She had a reputation for being methodical, thorough, and devastating in court when the situation called for it. She reviewed the contents of the flash drive on her laptop for several quiet minutes. Then she looked up. Let me make sure I have this correctly, she said. Your wife committed expense fraud against your employer, had a sustained affair with a married senior executive, and publicly humiliated you in front of your colleagues as a strategy to position herself as the injured party. And you have documented proof of all of this. That is correct, I said. A small, controlled smile crossed her face. Mr. Chambers, this is the most clear-cut case I have seen in a very long time. Your wife handed you exactly what you need. She set her pen down. What is your primary concern? Olivia, I said without hesitation. My daughter, she is 6 years old and she is everything. Patricia nodded. With this evidence, you are looking at joint custody at a minimum, possibly primary custody, depending on what we can demonstrate about the stability or instability of Mrs. Chambers' living situation and choices. The fact that the man she was involved with has been actively deceiving her while maintaining a separate family in another city strengthens your position considerably. I felt a real and physical weight lift off my chest. What do we do first? We file for divorce today. We cite adultery, financial fraud, and emotional abuse. I will also submit the expense documentation to your company's HR department. Jordan Palmer is not simply going to lose his relationship. He is going to lose his career. She studied me for a moment, the way people who are very good at reading situations tend to study things. Most men who sit in this chair are primarily interested in revenge, she said. You just want your daughter protected. Revenge does not change what happened, I said. But making sure Olivia has a stable father who shows up for her, that is something I can actually do. Then, Patricia said, picking her pen back up, let us get to work. By Wednesday, Lauren had been officially served with the divorce papers. She called me 17 times in the space of 2 hours. I did not answer a single call. The text messages escalated rapidly from furious to frantic. How could you do this? Then we can fix this. And finally, you are destroying our family. I responded once, just. One message, you destroyed it on that rooftop. I am making it official. Thursday afternoon, Jordan Palmer called me. I almost did not pick up. But I did, curiosity mostly. Ryan, his voice was controlled but stretched thin at the edges. We need to talk. There is nothing to talk about, I said. I heard about the divorce papers. You are making a mistake. We can settle this quietly. There is no need to bring the company into it. I actually laughed, not sarcastically, a real surprised laugh. Quietly, the way you quietly spent the past several months using company funds to carry on an affair with my wife. That kind of quiet. Silence. HR has everything, I continued. Expense reports, hotel receipts, messages, dates, all of it organized and submitted. You are finished there, Jordan. And here is something else. Your wife in Dallas is receiving copies as well. Taylor already found her contact information. You son of... You made your choices, I said, cutting him off cleanly. You wanted Lauren, you have her, but choices come with consequences. Enjoy what comes next. I hung up and immediately called Patricia. She confirmed the evidence was already in HR's hands and fully documented in the divorce filing. He is trying to minimize damage at this point, she said calmly. But it is far too late for that. She paused. How are you feeling, Mr. Chambers? Honestly, I said, better than I have felt in months. Good, she said. Hold on to that. We have a fight ahead, but we are going to win it. That evening, I picked Olivia up and took her for pizza. She seemed lighter to me somehow. Children absorb the emotional temperature of the adults around them in ways we do not always realize, and perhaps she was feeling the shift in me. Something more settled, something more present. Daddy, are you okay? She asked between careful bites of pepperoni pizza. Yes, sweetheart, I really am. She considered this for a moment. Good, she said simply, because you seem like you again. Out of the mouths of children, she was exactly right. For the first time since that rooftop, I felt like myself. 2 weeks after the divorce was filed, Lauren asked to meet in person. Not through lawyers, not at the house. She wanted neutral ground, somewhere public enough that neither of us could make a scene. I suggested a coffee shop downtown. She arrived 15 minutes late. She was wearing a business suit I had never seen. Before sharp, expensive, almost certainly purchased with the same fraudulently obtained funds, the lawyers were now documenting in detail. She sat down across from me, and I noticed the things she was working hard to conceal, the dark circles under careful makeup, the tension running through her jaw, the way her hands were not quite still. You are really doing this, she said. It was not a question. You did this, I said quietly. I am just following through. Ryan, please, she leaned forward slightly. Can we at least try counseling, for Olivia's sake? For Olivia's sake, I repeated, keeping my voice low and steady. You had a sustained affair with a married man. You stole from the company we both work for to fund that affair and personal cosmetic procedures. You ambushed me publicly with a choreographed ultimatum designed to humiliate me. None of that was for Olivia's sake. Lauren looked away. I made mistakes. Mistakes, I said, are forgetting to pay a bill on time or missing an anniversary dinner. What you did was not a mistake. It was a plan. Months of lying, months of stealing, months of careful preparation. That is not something that happens by accident. That is a choice made over and over again. I felt trapped, she said, and her voice rose just slightly before she caught it. You were always working, always buried in your projects. I needed more. I needed someone who noticed me. So your solution was to steal from the company and sleep with your boss, I said. And now you want me to respond to that with sympathy. People at neighboring tables had started glancing over. Lauren noticed and lowered her voice again. Jordan said he loved me, she said quietly. He said that once everything settled, we would be together properly. I looked at her steadily. Jordan is married, Lauren. He has been married for 6 years. His wife lives in Dallas with their 2 children. He has been lying to you from the very beginning. She hired a private investigator and documented everything. And you are not the first person he has done this to. There have been others, at least 3 that have been identified so far. The color drained from her face slowly, like water going out of a glass. That is not true, she said. He told me he was divorced. His wife served him papers last week, I said. After the investigation turned up the full picture, he blocked your number 3 days ago when HR launched. Their formal review. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for her coffee cup. For a moment, I said honestly, I almost felt sorry for you, almost. She stared at the table. What do you want from me? She asked finally. Her voice was very small now. Nothing complicated. I want joint custody of Olivia, handled fairly and properly through the courts. And I want you to stop positioning yourself as the victim in this story. You made your choices. Now you live with them the same way the rest of us live with ours. I stood up. She grabbed my arm. Ryan, please, I know I did terrible things, but we built a life together. 14 years, that has to count for something. I looked down at her hand on my arm. Then I looked at her face. Her eyes were genuinely desperate, and I understood in that moment that the man she had gambled everything on had turned out to be nothing at all. She had thrown away something real for something that was never real to begin with. It did count for something, I said quietly. It counted for a great deal, right up until you threw it away for a man who was using you the entire time. I gently removed her hand from my arm. I hope you find whatever peace you are looking for, Lauren. I mean that, but it will not be with me. I walked out. She did not follow. Driving back to Kevin's place in the late afternoon, I expected to feel angry or satisfied or something sharp and specific. Instead, I felt peace. Quiet, calm, steady peace. The kind that does not come from winning. The kind that comes from knowing you did the right thing even when it cost you something. 3 weeks into the divorce proceedings, I met someone who changed my perspective on the whole experience, not romantically, but profoundly. Her name was Michelle Torres. She was a project manager at a competing tech company, 39 years old, a single mother to an 8-year-old boy named Carter. I met her at a local tech networking meetup I had started attending mostly just to get out of Kevin's house and reestablish some sense of a normal routine. Michelle had been through her own version of rebuilding. Her ex-husband's gambling addiction had nearly wiped out everything they had worked for, and the divorce had been painful and exhausting. But she had come through it with a directness and a steadiness that I found immediately refreshing. She did not talk around things. She did not perform fineness. She just said what was real. We got coffee after the second meetup. Nothing else. Just 2 people who understood what wreckage looks like and what rebuilding actually takes. So you are the guy from the rooftop story, she said, stirring her drink with a small smile. Everyone in Austin Tech has heard some version of it. Wonderful, I said dryly. Famous for all the wrong reasons. Actually, most people think you handled it with real dignity, she said. Walking away without engaging, without making a scene from the outside that looked like someone who knew exactly who they were. She tilted her head slightly. My ex tried to turn the whole professional community against me when I left, told people I had given up on us, that I was cold, that I was the problem. It took months before people started to see the full truth. How did you get through it? I asked. Therapy, she said without hesitation. Good friends, and I kept reminding myself that his version of who I was did not define me. What he said about me was not who I was. Same applies to you, Ryan. Lauren can tell whatever story makes her feel better about her own choices. The truth has a way of coming out on its own. Over the following weeks, Michelle became a genuine, solid friend. Our children met for a playdate that went better than I could have hoped. Olivia and Carter built elaborate Lego structures together for 2 hours while Michelle and I sat in the kitchen and talked about work, parenting, and the strange, suspended feeling of being in the middle of a divorce. Not past it yet. Not fully in it. Just in the middle of it, trying to keep moving. You are doing better than you think, Michelle told me one quiet afternoon while the kids played in her backyard. I have seen men fall completely apart during divorce, lose their jobs, lose their kids, lose themselves. You are still showing up for Olivia every single day. You are maintaining your career. You are fighting for what is right. That is not nothing. That is real strength. Some days it does not feel like it, I said honestly. That is completely normal, she said. But you are proving something important to yourself and to your daughter. You can be hurt without being broken. That sentence stayed with me for a long time. That evening, Lauren called. Unusual, we had been communicating almost exclusively through our lawyers for weeks. I picked up. Jordan's wife filed for divorce, Lauren said. Her voice sounded like something hollow had replaced what used to be there. She is taking everything. His career is finished. He told me he is moving back east. A pause. He does not want anything to do with me. I sat down slowly on Kevin's porch steps. And you are telling me this because I was wrong about everything. The words came out quiet and tired. I threw away 14 years for someone who never actually cared about me at all. Yes, I said, you did. Silence stretched between us. Is there any chance? She asked. No, I said before she could finish the thought. You made your choice, Lauren. You cannot unmake it because it did not work out the way you planned. More silence. I hope you find what you are genuinely looking for, I said finally. I mean that, but it is not with me, not anymore. I hung up and sat on the porch for a long time, looking at the night sky. I waited to feel something, satisfaction, maybe, or vindication. What I felt instead was just tired. And then, slowly, something cleaner. Acceptance. The chapter was closed. Michelle's text arrived a few minutes later. How did things go with the kids today? I smiled and texted back. Really good. Really, genuinely good. What do you think should happen next? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if this story is moving you, please share it with someone you care about. Hit the like button so more people can find their way here. The custody hearing was scheduled for a cold Tuesday in November. Patricia met me on the courthouse steps, briefcase in hand, a calm confidence around her that I found steadying in exactly the way I needed. Remember, she said as we walked in together, stay calm, answer directly, do not let Lauren's attorney pull you into an emotional reaction. That is what he will be looking for. Lauren was already seated at the opposite table with her lawyer, a sharply dressed man named Richard Pratt, known for high-pressure courtroom tactics. She looked different, thinner. The expensive clothes and carefully styled hair could not conceal the exhaustion written into her face. Whatever story she had been telling herself about how things were going to go, that story had clearly not been holding up well against reality. Judge Catherine Brennan, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and absolutely no patience for anything that wasted her time, reviewed the full case files. Before looking up at the room, "This is a custody hearing for Olivia Chambers, age 6, she said. Mr. Chambers is seeking primary physical custody with visitation rights for Mrs. Chambers. Mrs. Chambers is contesting this arrangement. Let us begin." Patricia presented the case with the kind of methodical precision that comes from knowing exactly what she is doing. The affair, the financial fraud, the public humiliation, the full contents of Taylor's flash drive, everything was laid out clearly, completely, and without dramatic embellishment. It did not need embellishment. The facts were enough. Lauren's attorney objected multiple times, and each time Patricia was ready with the documentation to shut the objection down. Mrs. Chambers used marital funds and employer resources to finance a personal extramarital affair, Patricia stated, her voice even and clear. She introduced her 6-year-old daughter to an environment of deception and instability. She demonstrated a sustained pattern of calculated dishonesty over a period of months. Mr. Chambers, by contrast, has maintained stable employment throughout this period, secured appropriate housing for himself and his daughter, and has consistently prioritized Olivia's well-being above all other concerns. He coaches her soccer team. He attends every school event. He has not missed a single parent-teacher conference or medical appointment. When it was Lauren's attorney's turn, he tried to frame my career focus as emotional neglect. He argued that Lauren's affair was in some sense a symptom of being left lonely, overlooked, unvalued. He suggested that I had driven her away through my absence. Judge Brennan stopped him mid-sentence. "Counselor," she said, her voice carrying the weight of someone who has heard every argument there is, "are you seriously proposing that committing financial fraud and sustained infidelity are reasonable responses to feeling emotionally neglected?" Richard Pratt backpedaled quickly. "No, Your Honor, I am simply providing context." "Context does not excuse behavior," Judge Brennan said. "Continue and keep it strictly relevant to the child's welfare." When I took the stand, Lauren's attorney came at me directly. Yes, I had worked long hours. Yes, there had been late nights and weekends. Yes, Lauren had handled Olivia alone during some of those times, but I had been at every school event. I had been at every parent-teacher conference. I had coached Olivia's soccer team all season. I had never been absent, I had been working, and there is a fundamental difference between the two. When Patricia called Taylor Reed to the stand, the room shifted. Taylor testified clearly and professionally about the expense fraud, the evidence she had gathered, and the company's decision to terminate Jordan Palmer's employment following the HR investigation. Then Patricia asked one final question. Miss Reed, during your investigation, did you discover anything else relevant to this case? Yes, Taylor said. Jordan Palmer had a documented pattern of targeting married female employees for affairs. Lauren Chambers was not the first. There were at least 3 other employees over the previous 5 years. The silence in the courtroom was the loudest kind. Lauren's face had gone completely white. Judge Brennan reviewed everything quietly for several long minutes. Then she looked up. Based on the testimony presented and the documented evidence submitted to this court, I am awarding primary physical custody to Mr. Chambers. Mrs. Chambers will be granted supervised visitation on alternating weekends, to be reviewed at such time as she is able to demonstrate stable housing and employment. This court takes financial fraud and deliberate deception seriously, particularly as they relate to the welfare and stability of a minor child. The gavel came down. Lauren's attorney moved immediately to file an appeal. Judge Brennan looked at him with an expression that was not quite impatient but was approaching it. You may file an appeal, counselor. Given the strength of the evidence presented today, I would not recommend investing significant hope in the outcome. Outside the courthouse, Patricia shook my hand firmly. Congratulations, Ryan, you fought correctly and you won. I called Kevin from the courthouse steps. I got primary custody. A pause and then, that is my brother, I am proud of you, man. That evening, I picked up Olivia from school and took her for ice cream. I did not tell her about the court decision yet. That was a conversation for later when she was ready, when I could explain it in a way that was gentle and honest and age-appropriate. For that afternoon, I just wanted to be her father, the one who showed up, the one who fought for her, the one who chose strength over bitterness every single day. 4 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Jordan Palmer at a grocery store on a quiet Saturday afternoon, completely by chance. I was in the cereal aisle when I saw him in the next row over, and he saw me at exactly the same moment. He looked like he had aged a decade. The designer suit was gone. The Porsche was gone. The easy confidence he used to carry through every room, that was gone too. What was left was just a man looking at his shoes in a grocery store. He walked over. I was surprised. I had expected him to turn and go the other direction. Ryan, can I have a minute? Every instinct I had said to walk away, but I stayed. 60 seconds, I said. He took a breath. I wanted to apologize. What I did was completely inexcusable. I destroyed your marriage. I destroyed my own. I destroyed my career, all of it for something that was never even real. You are 4 months too late for apologies, I said. I know, he said. I am not asking you to forgive me. I just needed you to hear it. He paused. My wife took the children to her parents in Ohio. I am not allowed to see them without supervision. I am working at a startup for 1/3 of my previous salary. Everything I spent 15 years building is gone. And you think I should feel sorry for you? I asked. No, he said. He looked at me directly for the first time. I think you should know that walking away that night, just turning around and walking out without saying a single word, that saved you. It kept you from becoming the kind of man I turned out to be. The kind who had everything and threw it all away for nothing. I studied his face for a moment. He was not performing this. He was just broken, and he knew it. I hope you find a way to rebuild, I said finally. I genuinely do, but stay away from me and from my family. He nodded and walked away toward a small, older car. No Porsche, no easy stride, just a man learning to live inside the consequences of his own choices. I drove home thinking about the distance between our two paths. He had chased something hollow and lost everything that was real. I had lost a marriage, but in the process, I had found something I had not even known I was missing. I had found myself. That evening, Olivia and I made spaghetti together. It is her absolute favorite dinner. She stood on her little step stool, stirring the sauce with tremendous concentration while I handled the pasta. The kitchen smelled warm and good and completely ordinary. and I could not imagine anywhere I would rather be. "Daddy, are you happy now?" she asked out of nowhere, still stirring. "Yes, sweetheart," I said, and I meant it completely. "I really am, are you?" "Uh-huh," she said. "I like living with you, and I like that you smile more now. Children notice everything, absolutely everything." The company promoted me to senior engineering manager the following month. Better pay, better hours, a team I respected and genuinely enjoyed working with. Taylor was part of that team, and we had grown into a genuine and solid professional friendship. No drama, no complications, just mutual respect, and the kind of trust that comes from having been through something difficult together. "You earned this," she told me after the promotion was announced. "Not because of any of the drama, but because you are genuinely good at what you do." Life was finding its rhythm, not a perfect rhythm, nothing like what I had imagined my 40s would look like, but something honest, something real, something built on truth rather than on performance. 8 months after that rooftop ultimatum, 8 months after the most humiliating and disorienting night of my adult life, I stood in the doorway of my new apartment and watched Olivia arrange her stuffed animals and toys on the shelf in her bedroom. It was not a grand place. 2 bedrooms, a small outdoor patio, a good location near her school, modest and completely ours. "I love it here, Daddy," she said, clutching her stuffed elephant and looking around the room with complete satisfaction. "Me too, kiddo," I said, and I meant every word. Lauren had moved to Dallas. She called Olivia every week and visited once a month, and the relationship between the two of us had settled into something civil and functional. Not warm, not the way we had once been, but workable. She had started therapy. She had a new job at a smaller marketing firm. She was building something more honest than what she had before. We would never be friends, but we could be parents together, and that was enough. Kevin came by that afternoon with pizza and 2 cold beers, and we sat on the patio while Olivia watched cartoons inside. "You look different," Kevin said, handing me a slice. "Lighter," I said. "I feel different, like I finally put down something I had been carrying for a long, long time, something that was never actually mine to carry." Kevin nodded. He had been through enough of his own rebuilding to recognize the feeling. "Lauren called me last week," he said, "asked how you were doing." "What did you tell her?" "That you were thriving." He took a sip of his beer. "She did not seem to want to hear it, but it is the truth." I laughed quietly. "It really is." Michelle and I had gotten closer over those months, and I will be honest, there were moments when I wondered if it might become something more one day. But we had both been through enough to know that healing cannot be rushed, and neither of us was interested in jumping into anything new before we were genuinely ready. Maybe someday things would shift between us. Maybe not. Either outcome felt fine to me. 2 weeks later, the company threw a launch party for the new platform. Rooftop venue, catered food, open bar, the kind of event that would have made me deeply uncomfortable a year ago. The irony of the setting was not lost on me for even a single second. But this time, I was not the man nursing a beer alone in the corner, wondering where his wife had disappeared to. This time, I was the senior engineering manager who had led the development team. People sought me out, asked my opinion, treated me as someone whose voice in the room mattered. And I received all of that with a new kind of ease, not because my worth depended on it, but because I no longer needed it to. Taylor found me near the railing, looking out at the Austin skyline. "How does it feel," she said, "being back on a rooftop?" "Different," I said. "A lot better." I looked out at the city. "Last time I was up here, I thought I was losing everything. Tonight I am celebrating what I actually built." "You have come a long way, Ryan." "We both have," I said. I left the party early to pick Olivia up from Kevin's place. She had fallen asleep on the couch, and I carried her out to the car, drove home carefully, and carried her inside to her bed. I tucked her in, smoothed the blanket, adjusted her stuffed elephant, and stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching her sleep in the quiet dark of her room. And standing there, I understood something clearly, in a way I had not fully understood before. The night Lauren gave me that ultimatum on the rooftop, I believed my life was ending. I believed I was losing the most important thing I had, but Lauren did not end my life. She simply ended her place in it, and in the space that opened up where she used. To be, I found something far more valuable than anything I had lost. I became someone stronger. Not perfect, I will never claim that. Not undamaged, that would not be honest, but real, genuine, present. A better father. A better man, a person who chose strength over bitterness and kept choosing it every single day, even on the days when choosing it was hard. I did not need Lauren's approval to know my worth. I did not need Jordan's collapse to feel like justice had been served. I did not need grand gestures or closure speeches or someone to tell me I had won. I just needed to keep showing up for the people who genuinely mattered. I needed to keep building something real. And I needed to keep choosing the harder, better, more honest path, even when the easier one was right there. That rooftop ultimatum was designed to break me, to make me small, to make me beg. Instead, it freed me. And standing in my daughter's doorway in my own apartment, living an honest and authentic life on my own terms, I finally understood, all the way down in the kind of way that stays, what it truly means to walk away from something toxic, and what it means to walk towards something real. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is absolutely nothing. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply turn around and walk away. I did both, and I have never once doubted that I made the right choice. What did this story make you feel? Write your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If this story touched your heart, please like and share it so others can find it too. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a new story. We have so many more coming, and you will not want to miss what is ahead. Thank you so much for being here. See you in the next one.